Let's start with our kickoff information sheet. I shared this with you last time, but we will go to this. This should be one, save it someplace, maybe write yourself an email with it in it so that you can find the link easily. Because we will be, what I'm trying to do is make it so that you don't have to remember 14 links. We have the stuff in here, and then it takes you to the other places you need to be. Okay, so, and you'll see me continue to add it, because anybody who comes after I add it doesn't see it in the chat. So it's the same link. I'll let you know when I put a new link in. Okay, so let's get sharing. So first thing we're going to do is just get situated so everybody knows where I'm at and what we're going to do. So today is all about getting you, it's our onboarding meeting. It's getting you comfortable with everything. Let's see, we are recording. That's a good thing, because we will provide the recording to our Google Drive later. Probably, I don't know if my assistant, she'll be able to do it today, but if not today, she'll do it next week, early next week. So if anybody's not here, don't worry, we will have meeting recordings. Okay, so let me share where we should be at. Okay. And think of this meeting as kind of like the first day of class. You know how your first day of class is. For those of you that are faculty, it's always a little different than the rest of the semester, because you're just trying to get everybody oriented, what we're doing, how things are going to work. The next time we meet, we will hit the ground running with more content and doing things. But today there's certain things that you need to collect, and there's certain things that you need to understand and that I need to understand, so that we can all make progress with this process. Okay, so let me get all my assorted boxes up here so I can see things. And where's the old chat? Okay, chat is right here. Again, just same doc, putting it in here. Thank you, Jenny. That's awesome. So there will be MCCA will be converting the meetings to YouTube links, share on their website. Awesome. Okay, so please get into this document. It's in the chat if you're not there yet. Probably what I should do is get rid of this so that you don't even have to. I'm going to do that right now. I don't want anybody confused Zoom link, so that's just gone. You don't have to worry about that. Anytime you need our Zoom link, I've highlighted it. It's on the second page. This is where I need you to go right now, though. I need you to go to our home base, and this is kind of our home base, but our home base is the Google Drive. So I need you to go to that. Okay, and this is what you should be seeing. Hopefully that is showing up. Okay. Now, I'm guessing we have more schools here. In fact, I know, because I recognize names. I know that we do not have all this, we do not have a folder for every college that is here today. We're going to get that fixed. Don't worry about it. It's because, we had, our meeting was just last week, and it's hard to get, entire colleges to get all the stuff together that they need to in, 5 business days. That's tough. So that's not a problem. We're going to get things going as soon as possible. So one thing I need you to do, because Zoom, God bless it, I have updated it. I have my client version updated. It's still, when I go to make named breakout rooms, you have to go to the website login for Zoom. And then every time that I put them in, I save them, it says refresh, there's an error. So what we're going to do is, when we go to breakout rooms, because we'll be doing that regularly, I'm just going to tell you a number, and these are the ones I already have that have expressed interest. But what I need to know is, if you are not one of these colleges, could you put your name in the chat so I make sure that I give you a breakout room? So I alphabetize them, make it easy to find, but go ahead and throw it in the chat, the name of your college. So we have Delta. Great math name. Okay. What other, please check the screen. If your college is not listed, put your college in. Okay, so we've got Montcalm. Who else? Put your college name in the chat if you don't see it listed on the screen. I'll let you guys do that. Okay, so Bay Mills, that's what BMCC was. I saw that and I was like, is that different than Bay College? Oh, awesome. Look at me, I'm learning. Okay, so Bay Mills College. Okay, that's awesome. All right, so something super easy. I'm going to put this in the chat right now. Let's do attendance. We never know when we're going to need it, so might as well just do it. Okay, so we'll do this every meeting, and that way, if at some point you have an administrator that wants to know, so were you really there? I'll have a record of it, okay? So, and we're still having people come in. So putting that form in again, it's really easy. We're gonna reuse it each time. Oh, it would be super nice if it actually showed up pretty. Let me put it over here so you can see it. Literally, first and last name, what's your institution, what's your role? And you can put faculty, staff, administration. You don't have to go into great depth, but just that way we have a record of it. And I was gonna have you enter like date and time, but Google timestamps, all that stuff. So this is the only information I need. Okay, just click submit. We will do that at the beginning of each one of our meetings. So we'll be in a routine pretty shortly that we start each meeting with certain things like attendance, and we're going to close each meeting with homework. So for those of you, I told you this before, but to me, this is like reminds me of like teaching a class. So you're going to get to see what I'm like when I'm with my students. We're always quick, we're always doing stuff, and we go back and forth between whole class group work. That's my method of teaching, and you're going to see that throughout. Not saying it's perfect, but it just works for my squirrel brain. We always close with homework, and it's going to be a doable list that we will always divide up. It's not like, okay, this has got to happen. Who's going to happen? Who's going to make it happen? We will always close with, okay, these are the next steps. This is the next time we meet. Who's going to do what between now and then? And you will hear me mention this often, but my parents were both teachers. So my dad was a community college math professor. Apple fell far from the tree. And my mother was a kindergarten teacher. They both taught for 40 years. Whenever I tell my students, they're like, that makes so much sense. You make so much more sense now. That's from my mother. Okay, but she always said, busy hands make light work. Or excuse me, busy hands. That was not what she said. I have to go. Like a whole.
Was it many hands make light work?
No, not busy. Many. Oh my God, I just had a complete loss. Many hands make light work. That's what she always said. She always said it to her class, her students. So we will divide the work, share the love. It makes everything go easier. Okay. Be the group partner that you would want to have in your group. Okay. If everybody pulls their weight, then we don't have resentment and we get things done, and it happens fairly quickly. All right, many hands, my God. Okay, so I'm gonna get my brain oriented. Okay, so again, if your college is not on this list, I need you to put it into the chat. And if your college is not, so let you look at that real quick. And if your college is not one of the folders here, so all we have so far is Kalamazoo, Oakland, Schoolcraft, and Southwestern Michigan. So if you're not one of those 4 colleges, that means we need your contact sheet soon. So if you're like, where do I find that? Where's the easiest place? I've made a folder here, intensive, because this is our intensive, that's what this is called, meeting documents, okay? And here is the college contact sheet. You can make a copy of it. It has instructions all in it, so you don't have to figure out what to do. You need to fill that out. The main thing is we need to get you, we're having your core team. Who is that? And it can't only be math faculty. And as many of those people who can come to each of these intensive meetings, the better. Now, not everybody can come. We all have lives and other things that we're doing. That's okay. But if you could have more than one person come and more than one just a faculty member, like if we can get someone from student services and administration, those would be my minimum 3, faculty, student services, administration. You can get so much more decided. I've done this kind of thing for years. And when we miss one of those roles, what you end up is like, okay, so we're gonna have to go ask such and such, and you end up with this giant list of follow-up items. Whereas if you just had someone from that area, you could get more done more quickly. So that's the method to the madness. Okay, so you're going to fill this in. So this will be on your homework list. I'm going to give you your document in just a little bit so you can see your homework list. So you do not have to make a note of this. And it's got my assistant's email address in here, info@almediaeducation.com. You need to email that to her as soon as you can. Okay. All right. So back to intensive meetings. So we've got, let's see. We did that. Okay, so before I dive in, what questions do you have? I want to make sure that I hit today things that you need. And then, so if you're like typing or doing something, come back. So what questions do you have since last week? We've gotten several through email, it's been great, but is there anything that right now we could address that would make, that would help you? And if you think of something, just throw it in the chat. You can always ask. You're not bugging me. Okay, well, if you think of something, let me know. All right. Okay, so next thing that we're going to do is I want you to know like what our plan of action is. So I have a document that lays out everything that we're going to do. And the issue is you need one per school. That's one thing. So you need to decide who's going to be the person that, so like if you have more than one person here, you can go to the chat and say, just call dibs. I'm the one that's going to copy the document so that so if you're in a certain college, you could say, there's multiple people here, say from Oakland. Someone could go, like Nick could go, I'm making the copy. We're all, and then, you know, it can share, you know, to those people. But we're going to be, each time we're going to be making a copy and you're only going to want one per college. And then you need to share it with your other people in your college. Okay, so what you're going to do is this document, you're going to make a copy. We have a schedule every time that we meet and it has lots of helpful information into it. So make a copy and then go in when you change the name, put your name in, your college's name in it. And awesome. And just to make it easy, once you have it, you know, like, because we've got multiple people here probably for several schools, just if you're not all in the same room, just say, okay, you can put the link in the chat and go, okay, anybody that's Oakland, this is our document. Anybody that's whatever, you know, or you can put it in your folder. So if you're wanting to know, like, where should I put it so other people have access to it? Go put it in your folder. And if you don't have a folder, just stick it in the main area. And that way people can find it. And then, like I said, we'll get into a rhythm with all this stuff. But I'll give you a few minutes, do that.
Yeah. This is Rhea. Which document am I making a copy of? You had it up there briefly and then it was gone. The intensive meeting one. Thank you.
No, hang on, because there's two in here. So you're making a copy of the Google Doc, not the Google Sheet. So it says, this is the document you're making a copy of. Schedule, meeting number 1 schedule.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Make a copy of it, save it to either your folder or the main area of the drive, and that way other people in your college, I guess that's the easiest way, and other people can see it and get into it. Okay. One tip, I'm going to mention this to you later, but something you might want to consider. So like today, again, a lot of like, how do we want to do this? What's going to make it the easiest? When I work with different colleges, sometimes I have like everybody's on their own Zoom screen. Some colleges, they like to all physically meet in the same room and share one Zoom screen. And then one person is manning the computer. And then when they go to breakouts, they just work together in their physical space. All of you are in different situations in terms of like I know Oakland has multiple campuses and like in the same way with Wayne County. But it's just something to consider if you want to do that. Sometimes being physically in the same room makes it easier to go through things. Not do it through Zoom. That's no problem. Okay. Faculty. Okay. So Muskegon's situation may be unique. Faculty are generally not involved with advising. That's, yeah, I think there's a lot of places that have where there's the college advisors do it. So how do we educate those giving advice about math courses? Okay. So that is one of the things that we will, when we get further into the process of this, a big component of figuring out your strategy and plan, is your plan has to basically include a training and marketing element of it. We're going to communicate it, and you're going to have to communicate it over and over and over again. So it's never a one and done. It's going to be, okay, we need to train advisors. We need to have maybe, and we'll talk about all this. You don't have to write this stuff down, but could we have posters? Could we have handouts? What could we have that could make this group who has to advise, what could we have to make their job easier, which allows for greater consistency? Because that's what you want. Because if yours was like my old college, we had a lot of part-time advisors. We did not have faculty advisors. We only had advisors that just worked, that were staff. And a lot of people in and out, a lot of turnover. And so it's like we had to have things that would stick around, knowing that there would be people coming in and out. Okay, so hopefully you've made a copy of the schedule. Okay. Yes, and because we might have more, I got a question that if you're the only person from your college, you are absolutely welcome to attend. And you can see, what I would do is I would go through today and see what you think. And my goal with these meetings is that we're going to do breakouts multiple times, but we're always going to end with a breakout so that once you're done with your homework, you can go. So no one has to stay longer than they have to. But I would encourage you, if you're by yourself, to try this week, and I guess actually next week too, because this is not a totally normal week. Try meeting number 2 and then make a decision. This stuff isn't going anywhere. It's going to help you. So you can make that your decision, but we're going to be here and you're always welcome to join. All right, so let's go back to the drive. Let's see. All right. So hopefully we have our schedules. Okay, so here's my version of the sample schedule. I would just keep this up so you can reference it so you know what I'm going to do. So who's supposed to be here? Your core team. Now you may not have your core team here today. You may have one person again. So your goal is going to be, that's going to be one of the things that we're going to talk about later, who's going to come to these meetings? And knowing that we all have different schedules, who realistically is going to come to certain ones where maybe not everybody can come. Okay, we will have a part that we're going to do that. We're going to go through, we're going to learn some things today. Today we have more that we're going to learn than most weeks, but every meeting will have an element of where I teach you something that comes from best practice, experience, and research. Okay, so I will teach you something, and the idea of that is to whittle this down and simplify it. You're going to have things you're going to do each time. So, you can mark this one off. You already did you did your attendance form. Woo! Okay. You're going to be, the things that you're going to work on today is in breakouts, we're going to have an institutional profile. Don't start it yet. Just hang tight with me because there's other things I need you to look at. You guys are going to come up with your group. We're going to come up with a project name. Because when you name something, it makes it more official and real, and it can become more of an institutional thing and not just, oh, this project that the math people are working on. No, it has to be owned by the college. So a name is a good thing. Okay. Like one of my clients, they call it their math success project. They call it the MSP. I've got another one. I think their mascot is the Conquistadors, and theirs is DC3 Conquers Math, because it's Dodge City Community College. It's just neat. That's one thing that really helps, is we're going to get a name. So you can be thinking in your mind, who's the creative person who wants to be thinking about that. We'll go through the homework. Oh, excellent. Jim said we call it the Delta Pathways. Oh, I like that. That's a good thing to have. It's an entity, and then it becomes something, substantial. Okay. Any place where you want to take notes, I have a few things that you're going to take notes on, you can add to here, but this is your document. Add to whatever you want that would help you guys. And then we're going to have a checklist. I guess the main thing I would ask you is don't be working on all of this stuff while we go through the learning section, because it doesn't matter how far into this process you are, there are still things that will benefit you, whether you've been doing this for 3 years or 3 minutes. Okay. Okay, any questions before we dive in? All right, let's do it. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna teach you a few things, just like big picture. Now, some of these I think, okay, that's not what I want to do. Slideshow. Yeah. Okay. So can y'all see that? Yes. All right, let's do it. Okay. So anything that I did last time, I'm gonna go through quickly. The new stuff I'll spend more time on. So just again, to remind you, where are we going? Because we got this question a lot throughout email. It's like, where are we doing things? Why would we need this? Because there are so few colleges in the US that are at scale. It is not common. There's been a lot of research done and always studying like, where are we at it, and where are we at with things? And it's like, oh, we're all doing something. But it's like, in terms of like, if this was scale, most places are about here. It's like, we've done some things, but we have not gone all the way. We have not ripped the Band-Aid off and gone in. And it doesn't mean just like, did we get rid of all of our old classes and have co-requisites? It's, does this work? Does it work for students? Does it work for us? Are students signing up? Are the students passing? Like, if they're not, like, what is it? Is it working? That's what we're trying to do. Okay. So no matter where you're at in the journey, everybody has a place they can go. Some of you have a longer journey than others. That's okay. All right. So I don't think I mentioned this last time, but I want you to understand my framework. And this is something that I have put together after working with lots of colleges and doing 15 years of redesign. What I've noticed in the schools that are most successful is they have 3 components. Okay, so this is big. And if you're like, because it's funny, I'm thinking about teaching you guys the way I teach my developmental students, not developmental students, but what will happen is, how it is in developmental class, you'll bring up a topic and they'll be like, oh, I know that, I've already seen that before. So it's trying to help them understand what's the part of it that you don't necessarily know yet. And this is a key element. The schools that have the most success long-term, at first, the top thing is their culture. Their culture supports this, and culture is just, what do you believe? What do you do? That's all we're talking about, okay? So we all have a lot of assumptions on what developmental education is supposed to be or isn't supposed to be, and we don't all agree on it, okay? And that's what happens when you start this work. You realize we all care about students, but we do not all look at it from the same lens. So we have different, priorities, assumptions, all of it, okay? How you communicate, how you decide things, that is your culture. And so this is one that I see that a lot of schools can work on. And it doesn't matter how big or small you are. I've seen small schools that have terrible communication. You'd think it was just, big schools. No, it has to do with, do we have the processes in place? There's a college in Illinois that is enormous, and they have phenomenal college culture because they have such a strong commitment around the college to all these different ways that they communicate and decide and whatnot. So it doesn't have to do with the size. Okay. We are always working on it. This is the one thing that it's never done like most of this, but we're always working to improve this. And what's really cool, when you start working on it with this project, it's going to filter over into other initiatives in your college, which are really cool. You're going to be like, oh yeah, now that we're talking, we realize that like such and such, this isn't working either. We're going to go figure that out. It's amazing what can come of it. Okay. Yes, we are also going to open some, okay, so I'm just going to be real with you. We're not going to dust everything under the rug. We're going to have some of the harder conversations and come to compromises. That's going to be part of it. We'll talk more about that in just a little bit, but I firmly believe when I work with schools, we have to actually talk to each other about the things that we don't agree about. Okay, so and not just like smile and then go back to our offices and grumble. We have to talk about those. So we will be doing that starting next week, because we're going to get into philosophy next week, and because you're going to be picking your structure for how you want to do co-requisites, because there's lots of ways to do that. So we're going to be doing that next week. Okay, so the next piece are your systems. So whenever I'm saying systems, I'm talking about like your curriculum, your IT, your IR, advising, registration, admissions, all that stuff, placement, all those different like departments around the campus. Okay, every single one of them has to function on its own to work for students and for everybody else, but they also have to talk to each other. And usually there's places where we can improve that. Either there's they don't work on their own well, or they don't work together well. So, and if they are, great, we just want to, and that's one thing too. There's some of you that have some of this stuff down, like we do great at that at our college. We want you to share that. That's the whole point of this project, is we share, and you can, so I am curious, let's go to the chat, or you can unmute. Does anybody have, like, we have a great college culture, and here's some of the things that we do to make that happen. I would love to hear from you. Is there anyone? Well, that's hopeful. That's all right. You probably have a better college culture in some places than you realize. I know this because it's funny, because I work with so many different schools. We all kind of have this opinion like, oh, our college is a mess. That, you know, that's a whole continuum. There's some that are more than others. You might be more functional than you realize. All right. If you think of something, let me know, because I would love to hear about this. Okay. The next piece is, so we have to have a culture of the college of how we think and do and believe, and what, you know, what do we as a college prioritize and act on? How do we do that? Then you have the systems, they've got to be functioning. Then you get to the classroom level. So if you notice, we're going big and we're drilling down. So we don't start with the classroom level. You cannot make a huge math change by just picking a new book, or, you know, doing a new course syllabus or something. That will never be enough. There's too many other factors involved that we have to have working. And there's too many other people involved that we have to have working together. So when we get down to classroom, this is how faculty and students interact. This is where we talk about instruction and assessment, okay? We're not gonna do tons with the actual talking about those pieces in the intensive. What we will do is set up systems. So like next week when we work on co-recs, we're going to make sure that we set it up so that instruction and assessment will be a positive experience. Meaning, how much time do we need with students? Like, I need more time with my college algebra co-rec than I do with my stats co-rec. I got to have more time with them each week. So we will set up the structure to make that happen. Then when we get further into the accelerator and you guys are just working on your implementation, I'm gonna have all kinds of stuff, resources and all kinds of cool stuff. And we'll have discussions about the classroom level. What are we doing there? What are you guys finding that's working for you? How can we share that with others? And where do you need help? We're going to solve that together too. Okay, I already mentioned this to you last time, but the main thing is we're starting with the strategy. So let's say you're like, we're already doing this. What I want you to be doing is evaluating your strategy and looking for where have you gone fully to where we're going with it. Is there anything that you need to add to it? If not, rock on. You can check that part off, but definitely look at it and see, okay, and I say this with love, okay? But I want you to understand something I've seen over and over and over again, and I've been guilty of it. Math faculty typically do not take redesigns as far as they can go. And there's a couple of reasons for that. First off, we're nervous. We don't want to do something we think would harm students. And a lot of times it's because you don't have the political clout or the authority on your campus to make other people do stuff. And so they often don't go as far. So that's why I still, you know, no matter how far you in on this, evaluate what you've done with your core team, administrators and advisors. What do they think about this? Or whoever from student services you're going to have. Okay, we will get to planning. You'll see I'm going to outline the meetings in just a bit. I believe it's meetings 4, 5, 6, or when we really dive into logistics. Then once we get through all of that, which is starting like April. Now, let's say you're like, we're already implementing. Great. And if you are, and you need help with something, you can ask questions. You can come to office hours. I know some of you are further along. If you're already implementing, feel free. I'm here to help you. And the group is here to help you if we can. Okay. Ooh, Gary, thank you. And Gary, I did mention you to Maria. She says, hi. The culture at my college is very divided. Student success is a huge emphasis, but most admins have no interest in discussing what we do when the students don't succeed. The faculty are willing to talk, listen, and change with realities that math faculty are facing are largely ignored by others. I guess we have no political clout on campus. Valid concern. And this is a classic thing that happens. It's like, again, we all care about students. but we're not all seeing the same things. And so we have different concerns. So one of the things that we will be working on in the next 2 weeks is finding placement and course strategy, how we're going to do co-requisites that, yes, it's going to, live by all of the best practices of research, and it's going to do everything that your law wants and all of that. But it's also going to be something you feel good about. So it doesn't feel like it has to be either or, and it's like either the student affairs side or faculty wins. It's like we all get something that matters to us. And believe it or not, that can happen because there's so many things you can tweak. That's why that can happen. Okay. You may be in iteration. We're all in iteration. You're never done with it. We're always tweaking. We're always improving. Okay. So I said that we're in the intensive right now. We're going to do that for a couple of weeks, and then we'll go into the accelerator. And of course, you can join for anything you like. You're here to get help. We're here to make your life easier. Okay. All right. So here is our meeting structure. Today is onboarding. Next Friday is meeting number 2. We're going to do course strategy. So we're going to, this is definitely, again, we got to have core team. We got to have multiple representation, but definitely we need math faculty as well. Meeting 3, we get in deep with placement. What's the strategy? And we'll start getting into specifics of that. Meeting 4 is where we start working on the implementation plan from the academic affairs side of things. All those nitty-gritty details and approvals and everything that we have to go through to be able to enact, like the schedule, all of it, the catalog, all those things. We work on that. Meetings 5 or 6, the reason we have 2 of them is because it takes a while to do this. We do all the student affairs stuff. And so when we get into meetings 4, 5, and 6, I'm going to encourage you to bring more people in. So meeting 4, definitely you can bring in more faculty, but basically anytime we get into implementation plan, the more people we can have from around your campus, the easier this is going to go. So absolutely. Oh, and here's part of your homework you're going to see in a little bit. People should not be finding out at that meeting that you're working on math, that you're working on your math courses. One of the homework assignments you're going to have after today is to go tell people, hey, we had this meeting with this lady in Illinois and we're working on math stuff. You need to tell people you're working on this and start like establishing that this is a project. And yes, Ria, it is okay. Whoever can attend, if they can't, and they can watch the replay. And then what you could do is whoever can attend, you're going to have that meeting schedule. You can go through and pick out the pieces. What do we still need to do as a team? When could we meet and finish those as a team? That's absolutely fine. All right. So I showed you this last time and I made you a pretty picture. So in my mind, this is my very squirrely brain, as I've mentioned, I've got kind of a way I see this, how it comes to be. So I want you to understand these are the components of redesign and the order that we are going to do them in, okay? First thing, I think of the courses and scheduling as like, these are like boxes, okay? These are like containers. So it can be like, each of those is, say a stats co-rec, a college algebra class, whatever. These are the containers. What containers are we going to create? We do that next week. How many of them are we going to have? How are they all going to work? This is a super simplified, I can't draw, so this is super simplified. Once you figure those out, then you figure out who goes into which container first and what's their order and how do they pass through them. That's placement and testing, okay? So that's why we'll do that the following week. After you get in all those places, we will be creating a flow chart and we'll create a placement chart. And if you have both of those and you feel like you're already at the scaled strategy, you need to be evaluating both of those. Are they meeting the goals that we're trying to get to? Okay, the next piece is, aren't they cute? The next piece is we have to help students know and get them into those boxes, those courses. So this is where we have advising and registration. Student affairs, you will hear me say this over and over again, they make or break redesigns. They have to be on board, they have to understand it, or they will not get students in those for you. And that's extremely nerve-wracking. It's frustrating to put a ton of work in and then you see 3 people sign up and you're like, what is happening? That's what we do not want to have happen. Okay, once you get them into it, then you're going to be teaching those students. Okay, so we're going to, that's where we're going to actually do, and I mean, we're not saying all lecture. We're just saying teaching and learning. That's where we're going to work on in each of those boxes. So that will be the next thing we address. What can we do to make that better? How do we support students better? And then the last thing is we look at the data and we evaluate the whole shooting match. And then whatever's not working, then we go back and we start tweaking. So the thing I'm going to push you to do is come up with a strategy that goes all in on scale, come in with a semester that you're going to go all in on scale. That basically is the rip the Band-Aid off. We're not going to run our old system and our new system. It's going to be the semester when we have only our new system at scale. And there isn't two systems going. I want you to go all in. It's a little bit discomforting to do all of that, but the iteration is so much easier. If you don't go all the way now, you will have so much more iteration, and every round of iteration is going to be more and more discussions, more and more debates. And here's what happens. People get worn out. There's only so much change people can tolerate. There's only so much focus they can give to a particular initiative because they've all got other things to do, including you. So there's a reason that I push you to go further initially than you may be comfortable with, because it is going to save you so much in the long run. And it works. Okay. There's a reason I do it that way, because it does work. All right. Any questions on our process? And if you think of something, let me know. Okay. And if anybody can draw and would love to make that look better, let me know. I'd love to see it. Okay. So let's do a few truths about redesign. So again, if you do an email, come back to me. We're almost done with the learning part and we're going to get to go into the doing part. Okay. So this is one you have to be willing to be open to. Just because something hasn't worked doesn't mean it can't. Okay. So it is not going to be, oh, we did that. We did Pathways 10 years ago. We did CORACs. We've been in it for 5 years. There's nothing magical with it. It has to do with how you do things, not just what you do. Execution is everything. So that's, if something, you're like, well, we're not seeing great results from that. That means we need to look at how it's implemented. You have the strategy, but maybe you don't have the plan that's making it work. Everyone will have to bend in this process. That is just part of it. I will bend, everyone will bend. No one's going to come away with their dream redesign. That's okay, because it's more important that everybody feels like they got a little something. If we have one group that wins everything they want, then that means someone lost, and that leads to resentment. And then it will die over time. And that's what we don't want to have. So you're going to hear me say often, we want win-win solutions. I'm going to push you for that all the time, because whenever I'm problem solving with a school and I see, okay, faculty want this, staff want this, the administrator wants this, I'm trying to balance, how can we find something that will give each of them something that's important to them? And there are ways to do that. Think of it, especially for all the math faculty, think of it like when you were in your graduate level classes and you were working on proofs. We knew that there was a solution. We just had to get there. And sometimes it took us longer than possible, or longer than we anticipated. Gary, okay, so true. Yeah, there are some things in your state that you don't have to make as many decisions on, but there's still lots of details that you do. And there's lots of different variations in terms of how you execute this. So I do agree with you, but you still will have plenty of places that we can play, and not all these implementations will be the same. Okay, redesign work is like the laundry. It's going to get worse before it gets better. Everything's going to get way messier. You're going to be like, good God, what are we doing? It will get cleaned up, but it is never done. Okay, it's something that we continue to work on, and we are always trying to improve it. But we do the big hard work in the intensive so that we can do less and just iterate as we go. Okay. I mentioned this a little bit ago. Think of it as like working out. If it feels easy, you're probably not going far enough. So when I see a department and the math department and everybody in the faculty is agreeing on it, on whatever the strategy is going to be, I know a lot of math faculty. That typically means we're not going far enough, okay? Because faculty just by nature don't all agree on things. We're just, we're opinionated folks. So if it feels like this is easy, man, I don't know what she's making such a fuss about, probably not going as far as you could. So think of it like lifting a weight. It's too easy. You're not building strength. Okay, who is at your table to make decisions matters. You have to have your stakeholders and perspectives. We talked a little bit about this last week. You got to have some naysayers. You got to have some optimists. Can't have all or have one or the other. That does make a difference. And you got to have someone, and this is one thing you're going to be thinking about pretty soon. So if you're like, tired of learning, Kathy, I want to do something. Don't worry. Probably 5 minutes from now, you will be doing stuff. You need to have someone who is the person can be like, okay, guys, where are we at with this? Who's doing what? You got to have someone who likes that kind of, you know, like I have someone on my team, actually I have 3 people on my team. They love that. They love a list. They love getting on things and tackling stuff and all of it. They love checking things off. You got to have somebody who likes to do that. So be thinking about that when you're figuring out who's going to be on your core team, because you can change your core team. You can add more people. You can be like, oh, this person is never going to have time to do it. Let's get somebody else. That's okay. Simple scales. It's really hard to scale complexity. So you're going to see me pushing for you to go as simple as possible. If I showed you my first redesign that I did in 2007, 8, 9, you'd be mortified. Oh my God. We wanted to have every option under the sun, and we sure did. And the flow chart was massive. And it was like nobody clearly knew like all the ins and outs of it, other than those of us who created it. We meant well, but it was too complex. Okay, so this is something we've learned from a lot of research and implementations. Simplify, simplify. It makes it easier to implement, and it makes it easier to have fidelity. You cannot over communicate. Don't ever assume, we probably all heard that adage, assume, it makes something out of you and me. Don't assume that other people on the campus know this is going on, are paying attention, care, any of it. Just assume they don't and share it with them. And share and share and share. And if someone's like, oh yeah, we're working on math, oh, they've already told us about that, cool. But someone will be hearing it for the first time, because sometimes we don't hear things until we're ready to hear them. That's just the reality of how we are as humans. This is, if any of you have ever done any kind of like big project, like losing weight or improving something with your health or improving something in your house or whatever, you're not going to have like massive like days where it's like, yes, we accomplished everything. It doesn't work like that. You're going to have little wins all the time. Please celebrate those as you go, because that's how this process works. Change is an evolution, not a revolution. Okay, so when you're like, hey, we all got together, we had a meeting, we came up with something, and we all did what we were supposed to, that's a success. I've been on a mini committee where none of those happened. Okay, it'd be nice if it would show itself. Show itself. Well, dadgum, where'd it go? There. I did not make up this phrase, but it is true. Change moves at the speed of trust. The schools that have a better culture situation and trust situation get changes done more quickly. Schools that struggle with that, this is a harder process. Doesn't mean it can't be done, but if you're in the place where it's like, we don't have great trust, like at my old college, I worked with them a year ago, we did another redesign because the state of Illinois required it. And we went through a strike in 2015. We went through massive rifts. 28 full-time tenured faculty were riffed, meaning lost their jobs in 2017. And then a whole bunch of staff lost their jobs in 2016. We remember people like afraid to go to their mailboxes because they didn't know if there'd be a letter saying you have a job or not. The culture, there's no trust. It's still, even though that was years ago. So change is hard there. If you are in that situation where it's like, we don't have a lot of trust, then that's something you're gonna have to be extremely mindful of. And we're gonna talk more about this in a second, but a lot of it comes down to your perspective on how you go into things. You can't change somebody else's perspective, but you can change your own. Okay, and last thing, you're always going to be working on buy-in. That never stops. You have to get buy-in from everyone. I wish I would not do that. Faculty, staff, students, all of them have to buy in or this doesn't happen. So that's why we're going to have a constant education and training process of like, we need to put something on the website. We need to have posters. We need to have meetings to make sure people know what we're talking about, because it takes a lot of time to get buy-in, because you're going to have students that are going to be like, this isn't going to work for me. And they don't know that it absolutely can, but they're hesitant too. Okay, so let's start to wrap this up. Be nice if my slides, thank you. Okay, so here are my expectations of you, because you're going to start working in just a minute with your colleagues. Please disagree respectfully. It is okay to disagree, but be respectful about how you do it, so that we can make progress. Don't just listen. Like I had a college president years ago that did this. You could tell he was just waiting for you to take a breath. Don't do that. Listen with the intent to understand, not just have your turn to speak. Okay, because I guarantee you the other person is saying something that there's absolute validity in. Even if you don't agree with it, they're like, there's truth in that. And we need to acknowledge it and figure out how we can address it and not ignore it. Assume good intentions. So this is one of the things that's going to happen. You're going to start working on this and someone is not at these meetings. Someone is going to assume you're excluding them. It's one of the things that's why we communicate and we invite people and we invite people and we invite people and we let them know you're welcome. We can't have everybody at the table because we'll never get anything done, but we're not trying to hide the work from anybody. But try to assume good intentions, because you're going to have people that assume bad intentions of you when maybe you don't have any. I would assume you don't. Okay, and the last one is eyes on the prize. What is our outcome? We're trying to get a better experience for students, faculty, and staff with math. Yes, a faster experience, but a better one too. Keep your eyes on that. All right. Here are the roles and responsibilities, because the next thing you're going to do, I need your team to identify a position. Unpaid, unfortunately. Although you might be able to talk your administrator into giving you release time. I have seen, I actually have a conversation next week with a dean who's going to be doing that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to guide you through everything. I'm going to work to help you problem solve. I'm going to show up. I'm going to respond to your requests. And I'm really big on 3 things. Equity, that what we're doing is going to improve equity, reduce gaps, and we're going to be serving all our students. I'm really big on empathy, trying to understand what's the perspective of the other person, and we want things that work. Efficacy. What I need you to do is attend and participate and resist the urge to do what I do sometimes in a meeting, which is play Candy Crush. Don't do that. And don't just check your email, because I do that sometimes too. Be a good student. Be the student you wish you had, okay? When you have a homework assignment, follow through and finish it. When you can't come, let your team know and follow up and find out, what did we do? Communicate. When you leave these meetings, let the people know, okay, this is what we're working on. If they want to see the recording, they can, things like that. And when you need help, say so, because I want you to get help. I don't want you to sit there. It's like, with students, reach out when you need something. Okay, you need to have a project liaison. You need to have, which this person is basically your local project manager. It's someone on your core team. It does not have to be the administrator. It does not have to be, it's not about seniority or authority. It's none of that. It's about, this is the person. Actually, Maria, she described it to me like this. She said, because Maria ran her own business for several years and it was acquired 2 years ago. She sold it, but she ran an ed tech business, course too. But they always had to have liaisons with all the colleges that they worked with. And she said, think of the person, if I was going to plan a retirement dinner, who would I pick? Who's the person that they can come up with the task and they make sure it gets done? Who's that person? That's probably who you want to be your local project manager. They like tasks. They like checking in with things. They like checking things off, and they like making sure you're making progress. Okay. So that could be a totally different person than your main point of contact, or it can be the same. Okay. All right. I think that was our last thing that we needed. Okay. Can we? Yes. All right. Told you, way more learning this time than we will have in future ones. It'll be way shorter. So please don't generalize that and use inductive reasoning and think it's always going to be that long. It isn't. Okay. So we went through all of this stuff. If it may feel satisfying, feel free to check those off on your list. We accomplished all of that. All right. So we're going to go to our first breakout. Okay. So what I'm going to do, let me get the chat because I want to put this. So I think even when you go into breakouts, you'll be able to see the chat if you forget. Okay. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to complete, you're not going to complete it. You're going to start working on your college profile. So let's see, is that, yeah, and I'm going to have you work on it for 15 minutes. If you need help, You can pop out of the breakout room and ask for help. If you want me to come in and come to your breakout room and help you, you can. But I want you, because not all of you have one of these, so I want you to know where can you get it from. Okay, so if you go to your folder, so Oakland, you have a profile document, okay? This is what you are going to start completing, okay? So this is all those, like, we wanna, it helps us focus on lots of different things that matter in this process, so that we need to be thinking about, like, who are our students? Who do we, what do we really wanna make sure that we are serving? How many people do we have to work with? What's the software? And if you're thinking, the math faculty already know all this. Remember, your core team is not only math faculty. So this information benefits people throughout the campus, not just faculty, okay? You're gonna be writing down, and this is for you. You're not turning this into me. So edit this however you want. Sometimes I'll have people that'll do this third column and they'll put like, who's this assigned to? Because you're not gonna get it all done today. So who's gonna be responsible for getting that information before we meet next time? And this helps me and you. I better understand your college when I can look through this and know, okay, you have, like, I'm working with a college right now, there's a huge student athlete population. And it's like, okay, we have to address their needs, which are a little bit different. Some people have tons of returning adult students, okay? That's what we make sure we're addressing. If you do not have a folder, I'm going to make a copy of this and make that in just a second so that you can copy this. Actually, if I'm gonna do that right now. So
While she's doing that, I would just say yesterday I was in a meeting where it turned out with the latest version of Zoom that the chat is not preserved when you go to a breakout room. So I wouldn't depend on that.
okay, so I'm putting this in the intensive meeting documents. Make a copy, and then let me make sure that you have rights to be able to edit it. Anyone with the link can edit. Okay. Oh, no, I don't want you to edit that. No, I want you to copy it. Once you copy it, then you'll be able to edit it. Okay, so if you need that document, if you're not one of the colleges that already have a folder, go to intensive meeting documents, find, make a copy, institutional profile, copy that, and you're going to work on that with your group, okay? And we're going to go to 1210, okay? So 1210, you're working on institution. So your job is fill out whatever you can, and when you have about 3 to 5 minutes left, figure out who's going to do what. They kind of naturally group into sections. Figure out who's going to finish each of the parts. Don't make it just be one person has to do all of it. That's no fun. Okay, so how do you know where you're going? Okay, this number is your breakout room, okay? Hopefully everybody's college is represented here. If your college isn't, put it in the chat and I will make a breakout room for you. All right. It would be great if I could have my breakouts. Hold on. Breakout rooms. Okay, so make sure you know which number you are. So Henry Ford, you're all going to room 3. Wayne County, you're all going to room 12. If you're the only person and you just want to stay in this main room, that's fine. It's up to you. Okay, 1210, and go to work and let me know if you have questions. Let's do it. Okay, so let me know, put in the chat. How are things? I mean, how far? Ooh, we got math people. What percentage of your profile do you think you completed? Estimate.
Oh, come on, there's too much there to
See the
finish.
bottom, how many questions are there?
Yeah, you're gonna love the homework this week though. It's just really, it's things like, it's just collecting of information and documents. So it's definitely something you can split up, and there's nothing deep or philosophical we have to decide. So it's nice. Okay, some of you made some real progress. It does take a little bit. When I do this with schools, it takes a little bit to get all of it. So the main thing is, and you may not have Okay, so Rhea, what is the definition of a special population? Is there any particular group on your campus? Sometimes schools have a really huge international population, or ESL or ELL, English language learners, whatever is there. If there's someone you just want to make sure, we've got to make sure we're addressing their needs and we don't want to forget about them. Because when we work next week on the strategy to COREX, I will give you a checklist of, like, once you pick a strategy, of all the main groups that I see that we have to make sure that we address, so that whatever approach you come up with works for all your students. But you might have some other populations that aren't on my list. And yeah, it could be your reconnect, returning the students. Yeah, because remember, I use this profile with a lot of different schools. So that could be for you guys, it could be the reconnect population. So for now, those are what? Students that are 25 or older? Is that correct? And they're returning? So that could be your main, special population you want to focus on. You can have multiple special populations. It's up to you guys. Okay, so one thing I would do, just make it a little bit easier for you, come down, so hopefully you can see this, come down to where your homework table is, and list anybody who's still going to have to come back and do some things. So like, if it's Oakland, maybe, we've got like maybe Nick, Barbie, and Julie have, they've got to fill in a few more things. And then, you can put done or partially, or I still need to complete my part or whatever. This is a working document for you guys, so you can fill it out, add to the table, whatever you want to do. Like, here's one that you can go in and fill out really quickly. The last line. If you already have sent me or Leah your contact sheet, you can just put that's done. You don't have to mess with it. That's one thing off your list. Okay. Okay. Any questions that came out of the profile besides the special populations? Anything else?
We had a brief discussion. Well, we did a lot of the questions, but there was a question about the main math class required for the degree.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a whole bunch of them depending on what degree they want. And also, even under Michigan transfer agreement, there's like 3 different tracks they're allowed to pursue. So
Right.
How did everybody else handle that?
And probably some schools, there's like, it's college algebra is the be all end all. Michigan sounds like it's Illinois. So if you probably have 2 or 3 that are very, very common. And of course, there's other ones that people take. So like, what's the most common one? Is it like statistics, liberal arts, math, college algebra?
Yeah, it's those 3 well, and that's for the population that's transferring to 4-year colleges that wants the Michigan transfer agreement.
Mm-hmm.
But then we have lots of other populations, subpopulations too, like the nursing.
Right.
They just need the math for health science. And then
Yes.
we have tech programs, which are pretty small. So.
Right. Anyone else? Okay. As you have questions, just let me know.
One more question, sorry.
Yeah.
It's kind of an interesting question. Description of students with highest math needs. Are you looking, and I guess partly maybe part of my question is, what are we and or you going to do with this document? Because are you wanting to know something specific about the math needs of our neediest math students, or are you wanting us to look at demographics of our neediest math students, and whether there are some patterns that pop out? Because that was a question came up in our discussion.
The goal of it is to make us aware and make us think past the most common situations and make sure that it's just more awareness for you guys. And then also what's really nice for me is when you guys have questions, or if there's a particular issue, I can pull this up and I will better understand your situation so I can better address your questions you have, because these things really do play a big role into what makes most sense. But it's also just so that we don't overlook somebody, and it's easy to do that sometimes because there's just so much to redesign. And there may be things in here that we don't do anything with, but you know, it's just nice to have the information. Most of it we will use in some way.
Yeah,
Okay.
Mike, we had a brief discussion. I think maybe what you're talking about was that question to describe the students who are struggling, you know, was it they can't add fractions, or was it they're students who have been out of college for 20 years?
Right.
Right, okay, so okay, it could be more than one thing, definitely. Like, okay, so what it comes down to is whenever we're building your approach and trying to meet the law, people, especially faculty, it's a valid concern, get very concerned about the lowest students. So I wanted you to think about, how are you defining that? Who is that? Are those students going into technical areas? Are those students that need to take college algebra, but they're starting really, really low? Are they foreign students? You know, like, what is there something particular about them? So we know who our highest need students are, so we're addressing with our strategy.
Thank
So
you.
there's flexibility in how you define that or what. I just know that
Right.
anytime we start working on co-recs, people are always going to be like, is this going to work for the students right now that are sitting in pre-algebra? Okay, so it could be that. Or is this going to work for the students right now that are sitting in arithmetic? Because some of you may still have that course. My old college did for a long time. So, you know, who are those students? And what you typically find, and this is helpful to think about too, typically the students that have the highest math needs are not heading towards fields that require college algebra. When we start working with pathways, which some of you I'm sure have already done this, but when you start working with pathways, your students that have the highest math needs are often working on AA or AAS degrees. And they may need just like one like technical math class or math for health sciences or something like that. They may not necessarily need college algebra. Just trying to think about who is that student, so we make sure we serve them. Okay, so let's go back to, all right. So the next, so complete the profile, that's one of the harder tasks this week, but again, it's for you, you're not getting graded. Try to fill out as best as you can. And if there's something you're like, I don't think it applies to us, I don't think we can get the information, just move on, you know, do the best you can with it. The more you have, the better, but it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, so the next, and I'm going to give the right time zone this time. So I'm going to be not in central time zone land. Okay, so the next breakout is not too bad. You're going to name your project. What do you want to call this? Okay, give it some name and write it down. So you can do that on your notes page. Also, if you haven't identified your project liaison, this would be a good time to have that discussion. Who do we think, because that person may be right here today and they may not. Be like, we ought to go see if such and such, like they're really good. And I wonder if they could help us with this. So I want you to think about your project liaison, your project name, okay? And I want you to look through the meeting dates and times and see if there's any where it's like, oh shoot, like there's a bunch of us that are going to be gone. Who's going to come in, you know, such and such's place? So if you're like, I don't know where that is, it's back in this main document. Okay, so I will put that back in the chat again. But definitely go to, you're going to be looking at the second page. Are there any of these dates? Office hours, again, always optional, but the work sessions, because like work session 2, we're figuring out how we're doing co-recs. Work session 3, we're figuring out placement. 4, 5, and 6 we're getting into logistics and planning. So if there's any of these are like, I don't know that that's going to work, we need to figure out who can come in someone else's place. And I tried to steer clear of spring break, but it's hard to because we all have different ones. Okay, so I will broadcast a message. We're going to go to 1:30 your time. I'm not going to give you tons of time because you don't need tons of time to do this one. Try to come up with a name, look through the meeting dates and see if you need to get someone to come in, if there's any dates that are bad, and who's going to be your liaison. 1:30 Eastern. All right, so opening your rooms. All right. Does anybody have a name? If you do, put your college name and the name of your project in the chat. If you're like, Kathy, you didn't give us enough time. Fear not, we're almost to the last breakout, and anything you didn't get done, you can work on. So does anybody have a name?
Hey, Kathy, we don't have a name, but I forgot to make a request before you broke us out again. Can we have the share screen enabled in breakouts?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah, there's only 2 of us. I mean, there were 3 of us earlier, so we want to make sure we include our other colleagues as far as the name goes.
Absolutely. Who can share all participants? Blah, 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 multiple participants. Okay, it should work now.
Thank
I
you so
apologize.
much.
Yes. Anytime you guys are thinking, shoot me a message. Like one of the colleges asked me to come in and stuff like that. I mean, God
You know,
bless
I
all
actually
these
tried to shoot a
Muslims.
message, but I think it only goes to the breakout. So I think I needed to leave the room probably.
No, there's a way that you can like, it's almost like raise, it's not raise your.
Oh,
Yeah,
Ask for
yeah,
help.
send a message to all. I know what you're talking about. Thank
We
you.
we just press ask for help, and she came in.
Okay. Okay, Muskegon, math reform, MMR, Montcalm, math reform, Bay College math reform team, creativity not required. Thank you, Gary. School craft acceleration initiative. I'll tell you one that's the absolute best. And I'm blown away by this. So there's a project that I'm working on with a group of schools in Illinois. And if I mention this, humor me. It's called Aspire. And it's accelerating student progress and increasing racial equity. I'm like, dang. Now, granted, a marketing person came up with that. So they had like a whole list of words, and they were like trying to brainstorm, like, what word can we make out of, like an acronym out of it? You know, that I'm like, that's awesome. Never heard one as good as that. All right. So if you don't have a name, come up with a name. You can call it, math reform team, math success project, whatever you want, or you can come up with something clever, but give it a name. It'll be nice to have an acronym and then be able to, and then share that with people. We've got something we're working on, and we're working with several colleges throughout the state on this, and it has to do with the Michigan Reconnect law. And we are working on, changing our math. Mention that. Okay, so we talked about I need to change that to start profile. You started your profile. If you don't have a name yet, keep working on that. Hopefully you reviewed the dates and times. Again, if you ever were like, where are these things that she's giving us? The main folder has that document, that math reform kickoff document that has the dates on the second page. So you always have access to that. Let's see. If you haven't figured out who your liaison is, keep talking about that and thinking about that. Okay, so your last breakout is going to be where we wrap things up. So this works out really good. I will be closing the Zoom room at 5 till 2, just because I have to go to another meeting immediately, and I'm going to have to let the dogs out. So in case you ever wondered who let the dogs out, that's such a bad joke. I'm sorry. That's bad humor. Okay, so here is what you are going to do. The last thing, you're going to figure out, what are we doing between now and the next time we meet? So the next time that we meet, let's go all the way down the bottom. You can see this, and I will cut and paste this and put it in the chat too. So if you just want to copy and paste it, you don't have to type it. So Friday, February 3rd, 2 to 4 Eastern. If you wonder, like, why do the meetings change sometimes, it's just because if I have another client at a different time. So I try to keep them on Fridays whenever possible, and office hours on Thursday whenever possible. Office hours are optional, but if you want to come in and talk about, like, okay, we're trying this and we're getting stuck with this, or we're already further along than all this, Kathy, can you help us with such and such? Yes, come on by. So I had to change the office hour next week because of something came up. So it's at a different time. It's now 2 p.m. Eastern. It might have been 1 p.m. Eastern. I can't remember if I moved it up or back. I'm not sure, but it's 2 p.m. Eastern. We always use the same Zoom link, so you don't have to worry about that. Now, one of the things is, as soon as we have all of your contact sheets, Leah, my assistant, is going to be adding all those names into these calendar invites, so you will have those. That's the goal. So that's another reason. And I think so far she only got to Oakland is on some of them. But in case you're ever like, well, I didn't get an invite. Do we still have a meeting? Yes, unless you hear otherwise, these are our dates and times. This is our link. We're just going to do the invites to make your life a little bit easier. Okay, so we talked about that. Okay, so what you're going to be doing is, this is one thing that you should consider talking about. Did you like meeting like this via Zoom, or do you wish like next time that you were physically in the same room? You know, whatever, come up with something, make your decision on that. It doesn't matter to me. It's whatever makes it easiest for you guys to communicate and work together, because you're going to have way more breakout time next time than we did this time. And you're going to be working with people. What's the easiest way to do it? You pick. Okay, so that's one. We talked about office hour, the next meeting, the tip. Okay, so the last thing is, it's really nice when you collect these items, these onboarding items. There are times when you are going to wish you had them and you just want to be able to reference them. Are you going to use all of them every single time? Probably. I mean, this is based on many, many colleges. What do we always look back at? Also, it brings up good conversations. It's kind of interesting how many colleges I've worked with are like, we don't even know what our current placement policies are. We don't even know when that document was last changed. Okay, this is the kind of stuff it's good to dig out. If you do not have a flow chart, I'm curious, put in the chat if your college does not have a math flow chart. Because I'm just curious if anybody doesn't have that. Because I was working with a college last week and they didn't, and I was like, you don't have a math flow chart? We love that. As fact, we love flow charts. Boxes and arrows, that's like our favorite thing. If you don't, sketch something out, and you can just sketch it on paper and snap a picture of it. But you will like to have something, it'll help me and it will help you know what you're working with. Now, I will tell you, if you want to make something and if you want to make flow charts, where I make them, I learned this lesson the hard way, don't make them in PowerPoint. It's painful. Make them in Google Draw. Google Draw snaps everything really nicely and aligns everything, and you can make things so much more quickly. So consider that, and it's free. So, but you will want it because we will be using it in some way. Okay, so just for these, you know, all this stuff should go in your folder, in your college's folder here. Again, I will reference it, you will too. So it'd be great if I could actually know what I'm looking at. Okay, just, you know, make a document. What are your course numbers and names? Okay, because we all fall into this. We're talking about Math 99, and it's like, you know Math 99, but somebody else, they're like, what's Math 99? So names of courses, any master course syllabi, because if you're going to have to edit anything, it's nice to have the documents, or whatever your college calls it, master course outline, curriculum sheet, whatever, for your developmental and your gateway. So gateway, first level college level math courses. If you have a flow chart, please get that or sketch one out. Your placement policies and cut scores that you're currently using. If you have any data, now if you don't, that's fine. I mean, the more we have, the better. But if you have any, feel free to include it here because it's nice to work off of. Now, this is the other big one that you can a lot of times have your campus's curriculum person, because usually there's someone that's in charge of the college catalog and the curriculum. They can usually help you out with this very quickly. But this information is key. Make yourself a document that has any course or program or degree or anything that has a math requirement, the contact person for that area, and what's the math requirement. Because when we go, once you guys figure out your strategy, you're going to need to notify all those people. And I will tell you, you know, I'll give you some tips on what you can say to them, but it's like, this is what we've created. This may impact you. Here are what we suggest on how to deal with it. We're going to give them ways to deal with it because you may be getting rid of a course that they use right now as their requirement. Okay. So we need to know that so that we can reach out to them. Okay. All right. So, so you're going to come back together. You're going to fill in your homework. Who's going to finish working on the profile? Who's going to be collecting things for the onboarding items? That's what I was just talking about, those onboarding items. And you're probably going to have multiple names on this stuff, which is good. I mean, share the love. Now, if you also want to be thinking about, you're going to set your project goal next time, meaning It could be whatever you want. It could be, we want to have better communication between student affairs and academic affairs. It could be, we want to see a 60% of our students who come in as freshmen complete a math credit in 2 semesters. It could be whatever you want. We'll talk more about it and I'll give you ideas, but it's nice to have time to think. Like, what is it that you guys really want to move the needle on? What is it that you want to see change? Okay, so fill this in, figure things out, who's going to do what, and complete anything that you need to. What questions do you have before I turn you loose? Because once I turn you loose, you'll have the rest of the time. You can leave if you're done, or you can stay and work together, and we'll go to 5 till the hour. Oh, okay, Gary's goal, that most students only take 1 math class. That's a very valid goal. That's what a lot of schools are going towards. Okay, anything else? All right, otherwise I will see you. Office hours are optional next Thursday, but I'll see you next Friday. And if you didn't have all of your core team and you needed more people here, get to talking to them. Oh, and what's the biggie on your homework assignment? Communicate what we did. So if you're an advisor, tell your other people in advising. If you're an administrator, tell people. Whoever you have as stakeholders you're representing, tell them what we did today. All right, I'm gonna turn you loose.